Episode 12, still shucking and jiving. Non-stop. Rolling on throat. Right, Plouffe? We got a whole gang of people in here today. Shout out to Plouffe. Shout out to young Jamie Dew. And shout out to Dakota DesRochers. Is that how you say your last name?
It's DesRochers.
DesRochers. We're all a little French, I guess.
Yes.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. Honestly, so we were just talking about it just a little bit before these guys got here, based off of like when we were talking about making an episode in the first place, what you're doing right now and how it's sort of like intertwined with what's going on with like the pandemic, because now you no longer work for the same company you did before, where you guys were helping like mitigate business loans or how businesses deal with their business loans. Now you're helping businesses sort of find financial support for things like logos and anybody who's like a new starting company.
Right.
Explain that a little bit, just so people kind of understand the basics of that.
Sure. So I work for Quabog Valley Community Development Corporation, which they are a certified financial institution, and they are a CITC. So they receive grants to give low-income people an opportunity to get financial aid to start a business, to actually get a loan to start their business, to get access to capital. So, I basically help businesses plan for how to open, how to market.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome. What are some things that you've been working on so far? Do they have you like go out and work with individual companies, like startups, and sort of help them? What's I guess the most of what you kind of do with those companies? What is the most common thing I guess that comes about?
Right now, in terms of the pandemic,
Just bring this a little closer, so this part you can move the arm around too and everything. Like this goes up.
We
there you go.
recently launched a rapid response loan in response to the pandemic, so that businesses can access capital in the immediate term to kind of mediate the effects of, this was in March when everybody was told they had to shut down and they didn't, have a choice. So people were really worried about what they were going to do, if they were going to be able to get this PPP loan. There was a moment when...
So it is a PPP. Okay, that's what I was wondering what it was.
We can help. We are helping people access the PPP loan and the EIDL loan. We don't offer the PPP. Those are through the bank. So
yeah, that's what I was going to say. I thought they're through the bank.
So we can help you, think through how you're, going to apply and how to reach out to the bank and how you're going to make sure you can get reimbursed get forgiveness on the loan. Right.
So what's the difference between like a grant and a loan? So that's what they keep saying. It's like, you can get the loan, because that's what our accountant keeps telling us. It's like, you can get the loan, and it's fully forgivable. So it's like, is it more of like a grant? Isn't a grant more of like something that's just
So the PPP
given?
loan is a loan because you have to follow certain protocols to be able to have it forgiven.
Yeah.
If you don't spend 70% of the funding on your employees and keeping them on the payroll, then you don't get the money back. Say
that again. If you don't,
if you don't spend it the right way, then you don't get to keep the money. You have to pay it back.
Oh, that's okay. Okay.
So with the PPP loan, if you spend the money incorrectly, then you're going to have to pay it back.
Right. So they notice you don't spend, like say you take the loan and then you buy a car or something, just something random.
Well,
right?
People
non-business related.
Sometimes people look at that and they're like, "Oh, this is a great deal to be able to grow my business, to buy the the truck that I need to do more work." Mm-hmm. But that's not the intended purpose of the loan. So they're going to say, this is just a loan for you. You're going to have to pay it back. But if you spend 70% of the money on keeping your employees on the payroll and keep paying them, then they'll say, okay, we're going to pay you back or you don't have to pay us back for that money.
Okay.
So makes it a forgivable loan.
And that's really good to know.
Is like you have to do everything up front. You have to prove that, your business has been financially hard hit by the coronavirus. You have to prove, depending on the stipulations of the grant, you have to show everything up front. And then once they give you the money, it's yours.
Oh, okay.
There's nothing you have to follow up with afterwards.
That's pretty cool. Okay. Yeah, so pretty much the PPP is just so that to incentivize businesses to keep people employed.
Right.
Right. Okay. So that makes sense. So that and the nonprofit that you're working for, what do you guys do there?
So that's what the
That's the
nonprofit I
nonprofits.
work
Okay.
for.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So then I
And
have
I
it
also
switched.
work for the town of Palmer
Okay.
in the community development office.
Oh, nice.
And
All right.
so we just applied for funding through this through the CDBG grant to be able to offer grants to micro enterprises in Palmer, Ludlow, Hampden, Munson, Ware, and another town that I can't remember right now. There's 6 towns.
Yeah.
Belchertown. In Belchertown. So businesses that have 5 employees or less and are owned by people who are low to moderate income, who make less than a certain amount of money, the median area income, are going to be able to apply for a grant once we kind of figure out who's going to be managing that program.
Okay.
So that's coming down the line, but
Yeah.
it's definitely really exciting because
What does the program do? Or is it mostly just?
it's to give micro enterprises money.
Okay, I gotcha.
So once we figure out who's going to be administering and figuring out, because like I said, you have to figure out up front who's going to qualify for a grant. There's going to be a lot of paperwork basically when you
Right.
apply. So we need to find somebody to be able to administer that grant.
Gotcha. That's pretty awesome. So what are some other projects you guys are working? Is that like sort of the big thing right now, or?
So yeah, those are the big things right now. I think what's really exciting is the potential of the Quabog connector. I don't know if you've seen that around at all.
No. What's that about?
It is kind of a solution to the problem of rural transportation. I think, the PVTA and other regional transit authorities often don't come out to rural areas like in Palmer or Munson because they think there's not going to be enough ridership, when really the problem is that the people are going to ride in a different way. They're not necessarily going to go down to a bus stop because we're all spread out. So right now, the system of the Quabog connector, it's a ride service. It's a demand response ride service. So if you need a ride and you're in any of the 9 towns that it services, you can call up the Quabog connector and be like, hey, I need a ride to the Palmer Hospital. Can you come pick me up at this day and time? And it's like $2 each way.
Oh, so it's like a by contact transportation system essentially.
Yeah, so they'll go.
No
it's
kidding.
a door to door. So
Yeah.
they will pick you up at your house and drive you.
Is that the PVTA like? Is it those buses, or is it even more? Is it even
No,
small,
it's
Uber-like?
actually run through the town of Ware. The town of Ware owns the vans that
Wow.
do this service. It's a super
I never even
startup.
knew that was there.
Yeah, it started in 2017, and it was really piecemealed together by a lot of people who cared a lot about this issue of rural transportation.
Yeah.
And it's also, the nonprofit I work for, the Quabog Valley CDC, they've helped to get this started and get this going. And they recently received a grant through the Health Foundation of Central Massachusetts. And they're in their we're in the first planning year of kind of seeing where this goes. Because like I said, it was really pieced together to kind of directly service people who needed to get to work or to get to school in Holyoke, because there's a PVTA stop in Ware, but if you live up
in New Braintree,
right, that doesn't help you.
No, it doesn't.
So it's really exciting to see where it goes. I'm really interested in that stuff. I'm interested in going to school for planning.
Are you thinking about going back into school?
Yeah, I want to go for my
Yeah.
master's degree.
Nice. Okay, so what's
Yeah.
your degree now? Where'd you go?
I went to UMass Amherst for political science.
Oh, cool.
I got my
That's what I
bachelor's.
went to college first for, was poli sci.
Really?
Yeah.
Why
at
did you
HCC.
change?
I wanted to be a lawyer, but then I realized that I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand whatever I was learning at the time. I forget even exactly what it was, to be completely honest, and I was just totally thrown off by it. So I was like, "Oh, I'll try theater," and then I went for electronic media. But no, that's pretty cool. So like, how does this all in effect now because of like the coronavirus? It must be really difficult to be in the transportation industry right now, especially buses, trains, all these things right now. Probably are not very effective means of transportation, considering they're all sort of government owned and they're not going to let nobody would want to go on a bus right now anyways.
Well, they are still operating, and
Oh,
they
really?
have been through, because they're an essential service.
Okay.
I mean, they bring people
Yeah.
to work, they bring people,
Well, that's good.
So, it is an essential service. It is really complicated, though. It's
Yeah.
like you have to follow all the procedures and make sure that everything's clean.
Wipe down rather.
Yeah. So.
That's huge. That's huge because it's funny because I remember even when I lived in Portugal, that's how kids got to school, like little kids. They had to use the public transportation system.
Yeah.
They didn't have school we didn't have over there. They didn't have yellow school buses.
Have you ever been to Portland?
Oregon?
Yeah.
No,
they
my
have
friends
the
live
best. They have great. They have light rail, and I love
What's
it.
What's that about?
It's just like you can. Where I stayed in Portland, it was super convenient. I stayed at this hotel that was right on the light rail line, and I could just jump on. They had.
Is it a train?
Yeah,
is it a light rail
a
train. Okay.
It's a train. It's
Yeah.
like a trolley.
Oh,
I guess.
I gotcha.
Yeah, so it's smaller than
That's
a
right.
train.
Some
it
cities
goes
still
slower.
have trolleys. That
They're
must be
great.
so cool.
They're so great. I thought it was a lot of fun. I would love to see trolleys make a comeback. And
It's pretty ingenious how some cities have transportation systems set up. Like I have a few friends who live in New York. They don't even have a car. They don't need a car.
You don't need a car.
Everything works so well there as far as getting people around the city. And not only that, but no matter where you live, you're like a block away from everything. You know what I mean? You could live in the same building that's like next to a mall. You wouldn't even know that those buildings are so huge.
Right.
Or you could just have a bike or a one wheel. I heard that's pretty popular now. Alex has one. Shout out to Alex Photo. When did you go to Oregon?
I went to Oregon in November of the last year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. How long did you go there for?
Just a week. I went there for work.
Oh, really?
I did a training with NeighborWorks
No kidding.
America. Yeah.
That's awesome. Did
Yeah.
they pay for it for you
They
to go
paid
and everything?
for me to go.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. They paid me while I was there. It was great.
I've heard amazing things about Oregon. I've always wanted to go up that way. I have a few friends who I haven't seen in like almost 20 years now, believe it or not, like childhood friends who live out there. And they seem to really love it. I don't know. I would love to try to move more out west personally.
Oh, me too.
But it's
I would love,
but anyways, back to how you're getting involved, because I mean it's pretty cool out there. Like I liked seeing how other places function, because that's one thing that's really apparent. Like have you seen Down to Earth with Zach Galifianakis?
No.
Zac Efron, sorry. So him and
Oh,
this other
I
guy.
saw a
It's
commercial
really
for that.
It's really good.
Okay.
So he went to like France, and he's been Iceland, and like Iceland, for instance, 100% of their energy comes from renewable resources. 100%. So they're on a perfect. They're in like the Goldilocks zone of planet Earth, because they exist as an island on top of a what are they called? The tectonic plate, where the European and North American tectonic plates meet. So there's a ton of activity going on beneath the surface. So you have all that geothermal energy, and they harvest it constantly. Okay. So like they can make tons of energy from it, and it was super apparent when you're there, because not only was I think a lot of one of the guys was telling us, the guy who we rented the Airbnb from, that the hot water was free, because there's just an infinite supply of it, because it all just comes from the ground. So imagine that. So like you have to cool down that water. It's already hot. So the way you have to control the hot and the cold there. It's not one dial, kind of.
Huh.
I mean, it would be similar to here, but
That's
they
great
really
for showering.
specifically. Yeah, but it all smells like sulfur,
Oh.
like rotten eggs. As soon as you turn on the fire, it's just really weird.
Have you been there? How do you?
Yeah, I went on a vacation there for like 10, 11 days or something
Wow.
like that, and you would think you'd smell like rotten eggs afterwards, but you don't. Supposedly, it's really good for your skin too. But yeah, going back into the show, that Zac Efron show, he went to France, and they actually have a system there where clean water is free everywhere. And they have like this system that's set up throughout the whole city, in Paris at least, where you can gather and get clean water.
I mean,
Which
it
is
should be,
it's a
right?
little
It's
different.
Like
Well, yeah, you would think it's not the same as here. Like you can get water here, but it's not like the water there. So they have this whole process. Like here, it's probably purified and filtered, and then you get the same water somebody was showering with yesterday. But it's not as much thought is put into the public water supply in this country. There, they make sure there's a certain mineral count. They make sure that the water is filtered in a certain way and it's not just purified. Because anytime you see water that says purified, that just means it's been boiled
Right.
and pretty much stripped of all of its nutrients and minerals. So it's sort of an issue in a sense, because water is one of the most important things we all consume on a daily basis, or at least should be consuming on a daily basis. And not everybody really, even in this country, has the luxury of getting that, because I know still plenty of people who probably drink from their tap water. And you do that for years and years and years. Now, some people have wells. Wells are probably better than tap water. Like, I couldn't get away with drinking Ludlow tap water.
I drink
chlorine.
tap water. Know.
You'd be surprised at adverse effects of chlorine and stuff like that. I guess, it's something to look into. I'm not a doctor on it, so it's like I can only say so much. But I guess if you were to really think about it, you would want to take into account what chlorine or whatever else they're putting in the water might do to you over years of consumption. Right? How it might affect the kidneys, because there's a lot of things we don't know that's happening to our bodies until the adverse effects kick in once we're a little older.
I will say, though, there's a spring in Munson right on a high street, and it's right near my house. So I'll walk up there, and it definitely tastes better.
Just went to a spring today.
Yeah.
I go to one right on 67.
Yeah.
Right off of Old Warren Road. I go through Palmer past Burley Park. They have a great spring. And I've been gathering it from that for the past 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah, just you buy a couple of jugs. You can get a porcelain jug holder with a spigot at the bottom, and you just flip it upside down.
Yeah,
And and it's just always going. It's fresh, clean water right from the aquifer. And that tube, there's like somebody put a tube there. It's like maybe 5-10 yards away from where it's coming out of the earth.
Yeah, that's the same as in Munson. Yeah, there's a great spot.
Well, and I guess just to make a note on that proximity, and there's a horror story for all of you, even though I'm really trying to encourage you guys to get water on your own. But the reason why that proximity is so important is because you never know what's falling into the water, right? Depending on how close you're gathering from where it's coming out of the earth. So I gathered the water 2 weeks ago. Filled up all my jugs, like 27.5 gallons of water.
Oh my God.
Right? Free. No money. Nothing. You know what I mean? Like, I was buying water for the past couple weeks or whatever, and that sucks because it's like $1 something a gallon. Free water comes right out of the earth. Who would have known? But I went to go check after gathering all that water. There's a dead squirrel in there.
Ew.
So that's it. I had to take the squirrel out because after I gather my water, I always clean the stream out for the next person and myself included, because it gets clogged with leaves and whatever. I don't give a shit about leaves and moss and whatever else is in the water. I mean, that's better than someone else's shit, and then it's being filtered by a system, and then it's coming out of your faucet. I mean, we bathe in it all the time, but I don't want to be like drinking it and cooking with it. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
I'll keep it on a low. What's up?
This is from CDC.gov.
Yeah.
Current studies indicate that using or drinking water with small amounts of chlorine does not cause harmful health effects and provides protection against waterborne disease outbreaks.
Yeah.
Thank you, James.
That's the CDC.
Yeah, that's the CDC. I'll try to snip that in. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's funny because here's one thing I've really... What's up?
I do want to say, you're saying that it's filtered by whatever... What? I mean, all water... there's only a limited amount of water, and, if you drink water from the earth, it's still going to be, somebody's filtered. Somebody's
sure. Yeah, that water...
filtered.
I mean, the water you drink has been on the planet since the beginning of time.
Right.
That's very true.
So it's done all kinds of things.
Though what I'm saying is that you'd be relying on a pipe network system, that you're confident that the pipes leading to your house are clean, and then all that, and with the chemicals that are in it. I'm not trying to demonize anything here. People need to drink water, and that system's in place so people can survive. I get that, but the point is that you might not want to drink water, or as infrequently as you possibly can, drink water without chlorine. You know what I mean? Like, don't do that. But that is weird that the CDC said. I mean, the CDC would tell you, yeah, that's okay, and that's why? Because it probably is. I mean,
it's been treated.
Yeah, it's been treated. It's better than it being like toxic water.
Right.
Probably just not ideal.
Yeah, it's funny though with the CDC. What was I saying before? Just to wrap that up with the water thing. What was I saying? Gosh, I totally forgot.
Filtration. Gathering your water from the stream.
Gathering it from the stream, yeah. I don't know. I totally forgot. Anyways. That's pretty cool. That's kind of weird, though, yeah. Because I remember checking, because when I was in Sedona, Arizona, I checked if I could drink the tap water there, because I had to keep paying for it in order to get water. So I just went through, the thing is, it's the footprint that water leaves. You don't just buy water, you buy the jug that it's in.
Right, you buy
and now
the
you have this pile of plastic. So
That's
I just
fair.
reuse the same things constantly. You can buy BPA free jugs on Amazon.
You
5
say
gallons.
as you drink a...
This was recommended by Anoop Sharma. Okay, shout out to Anoop Sharma. I got the pink drink, dude. It's a 6.7 out of 10. It's all right. I don't know if I'll ever get it again, but it's all right.
You know what I highly... You know what? While you're taking recommendations for Starbucks drinks,
Yeah.
the cold foam... salted caramel cold foam cold brew.
Yeah, they got the salted caramel down.
It's
I've had
so good.
salted caramel there at
I love
Starbucks.
it.
I don't know what it was. What's a cold foam?
Cold foam cold brew, yeah.
Then it's got ice in it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like my coffee with ice. I'm more of an iced coffee guy.
Yeah,
It's
really
weird to
good.
drink it hot. And then, of course, if it's 97 degrees out, you don't really want a hot coffee like Jameson. Jameson
in
got a
the
hot
winter, I'll
coffee
drink
last time we
hot
went to.
coffee.
Not the last time, but the time before that, like a crazy maniac. But, yeah, the importance of drinking clean water. Okay. What the hell was I going on?
I don't know, but let's see, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 states where it's not legal to collect rainwater.
Yeah, I know. There's some fucked up shit going on. I'll be honest, too. So I've been crushing that bike ride going from Belchertown all the way up to Northampton. And there's, spigots along the way. And because of the pandemic, all of those spigots are not... You can't get water out of them. I don't understand that. There's a lot of things I can kind of, get. But, if you're... I was a dumbass. I went on that bike ride because I think, I'll be back. I'll get some water along the way, whatever. I didn't bring a bottle. Thirsty as hell. Hot day like today. Whatever. Jumped on the bike. None of them worked.
Oh, I'm sure everybody's putting their mouth up to it.
Don't even care.
That's...
Better than dying of dehydration.
How hard is it to bring a cup of water?
It's not hard. I am the dumbass. And I'm admitting to that in this situation because I should have had a water bottle. Why the hell wouldn't I? I have a backpack. I got a bottle. I got enough money for a bottle of water. That's fine. But still, you never know, right? I guess it's just weird. But I definitely don't put my mouth on those things. If you do, you need to go back to school. You need to go back to first grade. If you're caught for that should be the punishment. You should go back to first grade.
True.
Sir, you don't have a job. Give me your license. You cut that in half and send them back to school first grade.
But people definitely do.
Kindergarten.
They definitely do. I've definitely seen people do it.
But their whole they put their mouth over the cup that metal part that sticks over and suck on it. I don't even think that's what it is, too. The one on the bike trail is literally just
it's just one of those.
Yeah, it's almost like a garden hose.
Yeah, it's like
thing.
a garden. Yeah.
It's weird though. I guess I feel like it's just weird they would turn that off. But, desperate times calls for desperate measures. Things are going good though.
We're doing well here.
I think we're doing well.
See,
here.
we locked down. We were really strict about it, and we've got a lot. 14 new cases yesterday. That's it.
Yeah,
I think
know.
at the peak.
What's your take on it? So I have this conversation with so many people. So running a business, New England Functional Fitness, we're top of the line, keeping everything as clean as physically possible. And I try to be as encouraging as I can be because there's so many people who are still very in in a lot of mental distress about this and the numbers, this and that. And I keep trying to tell them yes, the numbers and the cases are going up, not so much around here, which is awesome. Knock on wood. Hopefully that stays down. I think a lot of people are getting confidence because of that, though. They'll say it in other places it's going up, but I don't notice that the death toll is going up. Now, what's your concern on that? So they have these elevated case numbers, but these death tolls aren't really going anywhere.
Yeah, I've listened to
what I mean?
some experts talk about that, and they think that there's two different things that I've heard about it. One is that it's younger people who are getting infected,
Oh.
which I mean makes sense because everybody I know who's older is
Right.
like super paranoid, and
It's like
is like
Florida is like the worst place on the planet right now.
right. And there's
Supposedly.
a bunch of kids probably going on vacation, going to the beach and stuff.
Beach life, bar life.
So, that might be it. I think, I'm not sure where I heard this, but there was somebody talking about how it may be that the virus is mutating to be less deadly, which is what they've seen in other viruses. I wouldn't say we count on that. I
Yeah.
would say we probably count on it still being as bad, and maybe younger people are getting infected. But yeah, I mean, I think that it's really crazy that people aren't listening to people who are professional public health.
Yeah, it's
officials.
definitely all over the place. I mean, I'm not gonna shy away from a lot of, I was also pretty gung ho. I was like, oh, this sucks, this is dumb. I even went to Arizona. But I have the luxury, folks, of being living alone, and I don't have any buddy I have to worry about like that. It was pretty much just myself and months of time on my hands. So, in that time I could have recovered from it, whatnot, but luckily I was okay. Yeah, I guess a lot of it. I guess I just I don't know. I always talk about it, but at the end of the day, anybody who always asks me about it, I continuously just go back to a place of gratitude. Because I've been benefited in so many ways from the shutdown and everything. Yeah, time off, mental clarity, mental health, restoration, this podcast, the business is still there. You know what I mean? We're still doing good, and people are really happy to get back. And hopefully it's over sooner than later.
I mean, it seems to be coming to an end around here anyway. I don't know that the whole country is going to have the same experience, but for the most part, things seem to be back.
And you guys got a lot of, at least good business from it. I mean, is that pretty much not good business, but you know what I mean? Like you at least get a chance to show people what you guys can do for local businesses. Because a lot of people take programs like the ones you guys offer for granted and don't realize they're even there. I didn't know they were there.
Yeah.
I didn't know something like this could step in. I didn't even know how unemployment worked until now, because I've never been on unemployment. So I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Like I thought we were going to have to start taking out of the business to pay ourselves. Like we were able to, because of that alone and our financial strategizing and planning, we were able to keep ourselves afloat through all this.
That's great. If it unemployment doesn't always work like that. There were changes made to when the CARES Act passed back in March. That was like one of the
What's the CARES Act?
That was the largest federal stimulus bill that ever passed the Congress.
The one where it's given us $600 extra?
$600, and the $1,200 stimulus check.
Which I think we're getting another one next week. Is that true?
No, they haven't finalized it yet.
Okay.
They still have to, and they haven't nailed it down yet.
Yeah.
And they have all kinds of issues. They want to give business, kind of help businesses so that they don't have the liability if somebody gets sick.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah. I mean, it's murky waters out there for businesses, because now, I mean, I'm not totally. I'm for a lot of things, and I recognize that I'm pretty stubborn with a lot of things too, but I'm not really sure I'm on board with there being a website that can rat businesses out for not complying, because.
What?
Like, so if you're a business and you're not complying to the regulations, you can tell on that business. You can tell the government that this business is not cooperating with the new COVID-19 regulations.
Sure.
Phase 3 regulations, which I understand. Everybody should be cooperating with those regulations. Though I'm not sure if it's necessary that there's a system in place that can, get the government intervene with it. Because at the end of the day, especially with businesses, they're going to be relying on people being happy and safe. There's no business that has that does not have that as a priority.
Right.
You know what I mean? Maybe who knows, ones that are outsourced into different countries. But if you have a brick and mortar and people have to be inside your business, I don't think anybody wants to jeopardize the safety or health of their clients.
And I think that businesses have gone through health hell trying to figure out
Yeah.
what they were supposed to do to keep everybody healthy. I mean, how did it work? I'm curious about you guys opening up. How did you figure out what you had to do? Did you just do your research, or
So
was there anybody that you could reach out to for help?
We're really lucky. We have so many clients and so many different avenues. One of our clients actually works in Charlie Baker's office.
Great.
So she was able to disclose all the different regulations. It's pretty straightforward. I mean, you wipe things down, you keep things clean, you keep the number of people down low. But my problem is with this website that tells on people is nobody's going to be like, no one's going to catch that person who's really fucking up. You know what I mean? It's going to be like, I went in there and there was 11 people. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
there's people like that. And those are the people who unfortunately all of us have to work with and see, because they're like that. They're like, oh, that wasn't 6 feet. You weren't 6 feet away from me. We need to be 6 feet, like to the T with everything. So there's those people you run into. So my issue is that those are the people who say something, and that costs a lot of time and money to have to then deal with. I could only imagine. So we'll say somebody, say the building commissioner from your town has to come in then, and then strips you of your what the hell was it? The building permit.
Yeah.
So you had to get one of those. I remember I forget if it was the building permit. Because they're like, oh, everybody's talking. I can't tell you how many people have told me, oh, you're going to lose your business license. We don't have a business license. We don't sell guns or liquor, so
Right.
we have a business certificate, but I don't know. Yeah. So, anyways, I guess I just worry for businesses that might not have every hair in place. You know what I mean? Because not every business either has the luxury of having clients who have been members or clients for the last 10 years. All of the people we see have been lifelong clients of ours, if not very loyal and local, and people who are equally as involved in the community as we are, so they're not really trying to get at our throats. So a lot of businesses and companies that have just random traffic, say you're a hair salon, you might not have the most regulars. Say you're just a convenience store, you might not have those same kind of regulars. And then somebody walks in and just goes, oh my gosh, you're too close to me. This is or I don't know, this isn't wiped down properly. I don't know what
this is
I'm
a
not
violation.
I'm not
Yeah.
looking for stuff personally for me, so I'm only just, I guess you could just sit here and imagine what somebody could complain about. So it's just I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of arbitrary things set in place that are arbitrary things that just are set in place to help people feel safer, and I feel like the website might be one of them. I'm not sure how useful it is. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that it's really just everybody's responsibility to make sure that they're doing their own part.
Exactly.
Like, if you're worried about something being unclean, don't go in there. Or
Right.
if you're worried,
just don't leave the house.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Or if you are buying something from a store and you're super paranoid, wipe it down. Keep washing your hands. Whatever you want to, we can only worry about ourselves.
Yeah.
Judging off the business reporting section on mass.gov, it seems as though the business reporting is more geared towards the employees of said businesses. Whereas,
okay.
That makes
if
sense.
they feel unsafe in their working environment.
That makes sense. See, I
That's
didn't look
great.
into it enough. That's a good point.
Because I hadn't heard about that.
Yeah.
But that makes a lot more sense.
That makes a lot more sense, because that's kind of where I think most of those issues would be. They can hear you. Yeah. I forgot to hook up the mic. Ladies and gentlemen, sorry for bearing with me here with the audio for Jameson. So what I do is I just tune it in and then tune it out. But what I'll do next time is hook up the wireless mic to you. I'll just have to do a little extra work there. I meant to do that beforehand. That's all right. Well, that makes a lot more sense, because I don't know who... See, what do you think they're going to do about these people who are working the whole time?
The essential workers? I mean,
Yeah.
I've been working the whole time.
What are they going to do for you?
They're not going to do anything for
Well,
me.
you better
I am
set
lucky.
something on fire.
I'm lucky. I've been
I'd be
able to keep
fucked.
my job.
I would be pissed.
I am super jealous of people who are getting paid to
Cash.
not work. I'm
Oh,
not gonna lie,
Cash. I feel like they've been just sending bags of money to my house for
Yeah.
doing nothing.
I am jealous, but I am also thankful that I have an opportunity to serve the community. I've been staying busy. I mean, it's been good for me too. I've kind of gotten on top of my shit, as they say.
Yeah. No, that's definitely, I probably been saying it every single episode. If you haven't been doing something during the time that you had off, if you had the time off, you kind of missed out.
The only thing I had time off from was going to the bar, which was good for me.
What was that? Oh yeah, so you stopped that.
So I stopped going out, which is
that is
good.
A luxury that, because I was never a bar person, but I always did enjoy going out to eat, and even as much as I enjoyed it, I really never missed it. You know what I mean? I was never somebody who was like, during the time that the shutdown was happening, was like, man, I could really go out to eat right now, And recently had gone out, and it's really nice. It's something I forgot about. It was actually quite a luxury to kind of get food brought to you, and I guess you never really think about it, and then till you obviously can have that luxury again. It's pretty freaking refreshing. If for those of you who haven't gone out yet, it's nice, and they have outdoor seating. It was just really cool to see Northampton alive again. You know what I mean? Because that's where I went, and it's like,
where'd you go?
Fitzwillies.
Oh, nice.
Good. Yeah, food was great. Outdoor seating. Outdoor seating's always fun. Eating outside. So something about eating outside is like a lot better than eating inside.
Did you? I went out to eat when the first week after we started opening up, and they served us in to-go containers and to-go cups.
Yeah.
Did they do that there, or did they give you real plates?
Plates. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had all the real stuff. Maybe,
I didn't know.
Yeah.
I think maybe because they didn't know what the regulations are and they were just kind of starting up.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of little weird things. Like, I don't know, you don't have to have a mask when you're eating, but if you need to go to the bathroom, you wear one.
That makes sense. I mean, you're outside.
Yeah. But the thing, I mean, it's really just a precautionary measure. I guess I can understand it. I guess the biggest thing with the mask is that you just don't spit,
Right.
Spit comes out of your mouth, but typically you're not talking when you're walking to the bathroom, I guess. You know what I mean? It's kind of like one of those weird things, but it's like, what are you going to do? It's probably safer just to have everybody wear one instead,
Yeah.
It's tough, though, for fitness, wearing that shit when you're working out. And some people are fine. Some people don't say anything. On both accounts, whether you're pulling it down a little bit, some people freak out when you see your nose. It's happened a couple times.
It's so hard.
Scream at you. And it scares you because you're kind of a little numb to the surroundings because you're so in the rhythm of just instructing and talking, and then all of a sudden, somebody freaks out. You're just not ready for it. You're never ready for it. I've never been ready for it. I was like, whoa. First time it happened, it's mask. It's like, what's happening? Is there a fire? The CDC. What did it say? CDC said if everybody wears their masks, it's gone in 6 weeks.
Yeah. Well,
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's not necessarily true because
It's true.
people could come from another place and bring it. I mean,
We're the people.
From Texas or from Mexico?
Well, I guess what the argument is that you can't. It'll still exist. It'll still exist. But I guess it would lower the numbers, maybe.
It helps if everybody wears a mask.
It definitely helps.
It definitely helps. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I feel like people have a romantic view on how a disease goes away. Like, you still go outside and get it.
I mean,
No?
like in Europe, I mean, they've got it under control.
Yeah.
Where, I mean, the big concern, everybody's going to get it eventually. It's
Right.
at this point, everybody's going to get it, but we're just trying to keep people from all rushing to the hospital at once.
And it spreads like the cold, which sucks because that's everybody gets the cold.
Yeah.
Once a year, maybe.
It's going to be a cold that everybody gets, but we just don't want a bunch of people to go to the hospital at the same time because it's going to overload. Yeah. We're not going to have enough ventilators for everyone, and people are...
I heard the ventilators don't really work so well.
Well...
Is that true? What do you think?
I don't know. I'm
Somebody
not a
said-
public health expert.
No, I know. Well, they were saying, so the only reason why, so on the Joe Rogan podcast, they were talking about his friend, what was his friend's name? Andrew Lee? No.
Not sure.
Oh my God, it was a comedian. The only reason he survived is because they didn't use a ventilator on him. Because what a ventilator does is it takes over for your lungs, so your lungs don't have to actually work anymore. So as soon as that happens, then what they found is that the pneumonia ends up getting too strong because the lungs are no longer fighting it from a physical standpoint. So that that inflammation gets even worse because the lungs, like, because doesn't the ventilator make you breathe on your own? Look that up for a second. I know I'm probably wrong about that. But it's like most of the people they put on the ventilators, I think most of the time they died.
I don't know. Have you ever had pneumonia?
No.
I've had pneumonia.
Is it bad?
And it's awful. It's like...
Did they put you on a
so
ventilator?
hard. No. I was like 12.
Have you seen how they use the ventilator? It goes down into your lungs.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're an old lady and you're trying to hack up
Mm-hmm.
the mucus in your lungs,
They do breathe for it.
it'll keep you alive.
I think, but the study was, or whatever it showed from New York, was something saying that most of the people put on ventilators ended up dying versus those who were not.
The mortality rate of people, due to data released on a May 8th study by United Kingdom's Intensive Care National Audit and Research Center, or whatever, shows that the mortality rate for COVID-19 patients put on ventilators was 58%.
That's how many. Okay, so 58% of the people who were put on ventilators ended up dying.
That doesn't necessarily say whether or not they would have died regardless.
Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a
The gray area.
Yeah, that's hard to say.
It's good to know if you have to tell somebody to use it, though. I would assume, because that was a big thing. They're like, we need more ventilators. We need more ventilators. But yeah, what a crazy situation. What a crazy year it's been.
I know.
What do you think it's going to go from here?
Well, I am really interested in seeing what happens. I mean, the next thing we have up is the
election.
The election.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exciting. I mean, it's going to be... I don't know what's going to happen. Polls have Biden up in some places by 13, in a swing state by 13 points. I was listening to NPR this morning.
What's your thoughts on Biden? You think he's a good president? You think he'd be a good president?
You know what? I think he would be a hell of a lot better than Donald Trump.
Trump, yeah.
I think he would be a hell of a lot better than Donald Trump.
It's such a comedic situation because how do we end up with these two? How does this happen?
Did you listen to him the other day talking about woman, man, child, TV, camera?
No.
He's like, oh my God, I'm an... I took this test. Donald Trump took one of those tests that your grandma takes to see if she can still drive.
Yeah.
It's a cognitive abilities test.
Yep.
And he's bragging about it to this reporter, being like, oh, yeah, so they ask you, can you say these 5 words?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, woman, man, camera, TV. And then, after that, they ask you, can you repeat those 5 words? And then you're like, yeah, sure. Woman, man, camera, TV. And he's like, yeah, and I said it, and you don't have to say it in the right order, but I said it in the right order. And so it just means that I'm all there. Yeah. And it's like, who is this guy? He's a joke. I don't understand people who still, do you listen to him?
He's a terrible. That's why it's so
idiot.
funny. They're both terrible at talking. Joe doesn't know what's going on. Donald Trump barely knows what's going on. Out of everybody in the United States, how did this happen? Who's the other person running up? Joe Jensen?
He's
nodding.
There's Howie Hawkins of the Green Party as well, and there's Joe Jorgensen. Jorgensen. Yeah. That's the Libertarian candidate.
It's John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt. No,
okay.
I'm just kidding.
If you're in Massachusetts, I'll allow for you to vote third party, but if you're in any other state, you're not allowed to.
Really?
You have to vote for Joe Biden. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
You don't have to, obviously. You can do what you want. But I'm just saying, if you don't want a joke for a president.
Yeah. Well, come on. Joe Biden's, I feel like, just as much of a joke. He's just comes in blue.
I don't understand.
I have a quick note about the test that Donald Trump took.
Yeah.
So it's the Montreal Cognitive Assessment, and it was validated in the setting of mild cognitive impairment. So basically, it's meant for to assess people and see if they have Parkinson's or Alzheimer's, and see if they're starting to lose their mind.
Right, and he's bragging about how well he did on
Yeah.
this test, and it's like, that's like the baseline. If you pass this test, you're like a human that can go to any job.
It's funny because he does these things that are just constantly. They're just eating it up at this point. Like, why are you even saying these things? You know what's going to happen. You shouldn't even be talking about these things. Like, if you're president and you don't want your reputation continuously soiled, why do you keep making a fool out of yourself?
Because he's an idiot.
Well,
I swear to God, that's he's not, he's really, he can't be all there because.
No, well, he's 70-something. Who was making that argument? It's like, you shouldn't even be running for president if you're over 50 anymore. Like, why is somebody with that kind of job even in that, like, that old and in that position at the same time?
I mean, you've got to have a huge ego to run for president in the first place, but you also have to be, you have to have some experience in life to run for president. So I'm sure people, once they get to that age, they're like, well, I've done all this great stuff in my life. It's time for me to take it another step and run for president.
I know, it's just like, so I feel like at a certain point, so when you're like 30, it's when like youth and wisdom sort of are at their best in your life.
You think so?
I think so.
You know what
I mean? You're like your wisest and your youngest at the same time.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And then you become, once you're around, I think 40, 50, you meet intelligence with wisdom at your highest. You know what I mean? You've gone through enough so you understand enough, and you'll be just as intelligent as you are wise, but not too old yet to still act on those things. And I think that's the problem, is that you got somebody in the fucking office who's always how old was Obama? He wasn't that old.
Obama was young. He was like
I think he was in his
40s, yeah.
Oh, there you go. So get these 70-year-olds. They both have dementia. They gotta. Joe's definitely got dementia.
I don't understand what have you seen about Joe Biden acts like a normal person.
You'll have to watch.
He acts like.
You'll have to watch the same.
He has. Did you know?
The same side of like, so the people who like bash Trump, you need to watch the people who bash Biden. They'll show you.
But the thing about Biden is he has like a speech
dementia?
delay.
Oh.
So he has a speech delay. And my stepmom told me this when I was like a huge Bernie person.
Yeah.
And she's like, everybody makes fun of Biden because of the way he talks. But and she's a psychologist.
Yeah.
So she's like, but he has a speech delay and it's really like, discriminatory towards people with disabilities.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's really shitty too. If you're in a position of public speaking and you have a speech delay or like a stutter or something. And that's the problem. I think the biggest problem is the media, because they will take things like that and make people look bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because who's going to watch something that's positive? People like that, the controversy. It sells so much better than something good.
That's why Donald Trump is our president, because he sparked so much controversy in the 2016 election. He was all over the news.
Oh yeah, he's still all
everybody
over
knew.
He's the most famous person on the planet now.
Because of all the ridiculous things he says and does.
I know.
I just want us to go back to a world where like people don't even think about politics, because it's just not, because I mean,
it's the fight of the century. How's that even going to go down? Is there going to be a debate? Do they have debates still?
I'm not sure. I mean, I know. So here's another reason why. Another thing about Donald Trump, he was supposed to have the GOP. The GOP was supposed to have their yearly, their what's it called?
Conversation?
Their conversation.
Their
convention.
Convention. Okay, what's the GOP?
The GOP is the Republican Party.
Okay.
And they were supposed to have their convention in Jacksonville, Florida. Mm-hmm. And Trump just the other day announced that they're not going to do it.
Yeah.
Because of the COVID outbreak. Even though at the same time he's saying schools should open in a month.
Yeah.
So we're not. Things aren't safe enough to hold the GOP convention, but it's safe enough for your kids to go to school.
That's another big thing. What's up?
Regarding the GOP convention, it could be debatable that because primarily that's elderly people and people in high office who attend that, they're more at risk than children.
Well,
okay.
Do you think there's no older people that are going to schools teaching the young children? Dropping kids off at school?
So that's what I wanted to ask, because that's a big topic right now. Should we be opening the schools?
Yeah.
So from one standpoint, you're saying, you have a lot of people who are teaching who are at risk. You know what I mean? Older teachers,
right?
The faculty, all around any faculty in the school. They might not be able to sustain a COVID-19
Right, but
disease.
there's also, there's also studies that show that in Sweden and Norway they opened up and there wasn't a spike in
Right.
COVID cases. But the problem is that Donald Trump wants schools to open. So in this new Republican bill that they're voting on next week, they're going to say, if you open, we're going to give you more money. So they're kind of like harming schools that don't open, where I think it should be a state, case by case basis. Your local school board is who should decide if you open the school.
So that's crazy. So that's not the case. The school board does not decide that?
Well, no, the school board is going to be the final decider on each school. So like, it's going to depend on where you are. But Donald Trump, because he wants things to look good for him in November, he is saying, well, in this bill, we want to encourage schools to open. So instead of going case by case and letting each town decide what's best for them,
like in case it's a bad town to open it in,
we're going to encourage every school across the country to open up by saying, if you open up, we're going to give you some extra money.
And these are all public schools.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, so what I was thinking too on the flip side of that. So there's the worry of, like you were saying, whether or not they even should open in the first place, depending on the case rate there in that specific area, and then of course the faculty and their health. But I was also wondering, like, well, there's also, a legitimate amount of people, or not people, but kids out there who are relying on the school system for things as basic as food. Or there's parents who cannot even work because they have kids at home, That's
where I think when this all started happening and the schools shut down, I thought it was amazing the way the schools really stepped up and started doing like, oh, okay, well, we're going to keep doing bagged lunches. Your kids are going to be able, you can come pick up bagged lunches in Palmer, in Ware, in Munson. They all kept doing it. And some towns are still doing it through the summer.
Because I'm aware of that too. I'm thinking, well, yeah, there's definitely, maybe, because who am I to decide? But my opinion, I guess, would be that I feel like it would be a good thing for them to open, but not like the way they were. I feel like they should implement regulations and like sanitary guidelines for these schools so that they can open, not just to make it so it was the same way before, but maybe have some type of structure where everybody can still go to school and everybody who is teaching can still teach safely, or at least feel like they're teaching safely. You know what I mean? Because we're open. There's plenty of businesses who have faculty who are older. A lot of our clients are very old too.
Right.
I
really think it's going to depend on what works for each individual school. Some schools are better adapting to this kind of remote learning. Some students are more engaged and are able to stay engaged through remote learning. Some might want to switch back to and they're all planning for reopening
that's a bummer.
locally.
If you're in college right now, that sucks.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if you have like labs or clinicals.
I can't imagine.
I don't even know how they're going to end up doing that. And I hope it doesn't postpone people's graduation, because they're probably relying on that from at least a financial standpoint.
Well, the colleges are like, my friend goes to Smith College, and she said certain years are being allowed to come back. So like sophomores, juniors, and seniors graduating in the fall or something are allowed to come back, and
high school
freshmen aren't. No.
Oh, of college.
College.
Gotcha. Yeah. At least if you're in college at this point, you should have some means of remote access and all that. I wonder how much longer it will be, because I know there's so many people out there waiting for a vaccine. What's your take on that?
A vaccine?
Yeah. Because they're gonna have one soon, but there's gonna be a lot of people won't be going back to life as usual or as normal till there is a vaccine.
Right. Well, I think it'll be great when we have a vaccine.
Yeah.
I don't know. One thing that I learned about the other day, which is interesting, is that so there's some people saying that like the government can't mandate that we wear a mask.
They can't?
Yeah, well, there are people saying that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, plenty of people, when you're walking down the street, they're not wearing a mask.
Yeah.
They're like, if you say something, I've never said anything.
Yeah.
But, you see people on Facebook
Yeah, there's
talking
shaming
about
in both
this,
directions
being
now, for
like,
sure.
yeah, being like, if you, it's my right to
Yeah, that's
not
weird.
wear a mask. It's like my freedom. We live in America.
I would imagine those are people who like feel as though something is being stripped from them because it's a mandate.
Right.
Although it's weird when it's
So-
presented. I think if you're inside at this point, you got to wear a mask. If you're outside, I don't know. I don't wear a mask outside.
I don't either.
Yeah.
But anyway, the basis for the state being allowed to issue those kinds of mandates to wear a mask is in Cambridge, Massachusetts. In 1905, there was... Yeah, sorry. In Cambridge, Massachusetts in 1905, there was a man who sued the state because Cambridge, Massachusetts, the town, issued a mandate saying everybody had to get the polio vaccine. I think
Really?
it's the polio vaccine. Can you check that? Johnson v. Massachusetts.
So you had to get the polio vaccine?
You had, so they
Was
said...
it a problem?
It was a huge... People were dying from it. I think it was polio. It might have been smallpox.
Yeah.
Can you double check?
So it was a mandated vaccine, though.
Yes. So the Cambridge, Massachusetts mandated everybody in the town get the vaccine. So he was fighting it, saying that goes against my liberty,
Yeah.
And it went to the Supreme Court,
Mm-hmm.
and they decided that no, it's under the realm of public health.
So was polio an issue in that area?
Is it polio, Jameson?
Right, so, yes, it is polio.
Okay.
And so, quote from Wikipedia, which,
So it's a quote from Wiki.
So, Jacobson versus Massachusetts in 1905 was a United States Supreme Court case in which the court upheld the authority of the states to enforce compulsory vaccination laws. The court's decision articulated the view that individual liberty is not absolute and is subject to the police power of the state.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I see. Here's my take on mandatory vaccines, and this is just how I feel about it. I think it's worth wondering, at least. And then it's kind of like rape. It's like that. It's that invasive.
I don't know that I would say that. I think that's a strong statement
it
when
is,
you compare.
it is.
That's like saying something is like Hitler. It's worse.
You can die. You can die from a vaccination.
But what happened after Cambridge instituted that polio
But how bad was the
vaccination?
polio? Yeah, how bad was the polio?
How
in that
bad
area?
was polio? It was really bad.
No, I know polio was terrible. I do know that. But how bad was it in that area? Like if all of a sudden there was a flu mandated vaccination? I've never had the flu vaccine. Neither have my grandparents.
I've never had the flu vaccine. That's like an optional one. But I definitely,
But
when
that's
you're
because
little,
it's
you
an
get all
optional
kinds
one.
of vaccines.
Who's deciding whether it's a health? What would you call it? A health standard? Like who in the government would then go? This is a public health safety.
The public health experts. I mean,
Yeah.
if you look at, I think it should be decided on probably a more local level. So
Right.
like if you think about who would issue that kind of mandate, who issued that kind of mandate in Cambridge.
Yeah. If it was an issue, I could understand that because polio's terrible. If it was like spreading amongst the people, it's like you got to get that. You got to get it out.
So
there.
then you've got like the Board of Health in Ludlow or the
Polio's-
Board of Health in Palmer.
Like,
And
don't
they're
get me
like,
wrong. I'm not like super anti-vax. Polio is almost eliminated because of vaccinations, and that's huge.
Right,
That's huge.
exactly.
I understand that, but it comes down to a point. I worry that how you like the saying, give an inch, take a mile.
Right.
Then when is the threshold? When do they go, you know what, we can't tell people to do this?
So I think that's why it's important to have people on both sides.
Yeah.
Actually, I was talking to Jameson about this in terms of free speech.
Yeah.
I fundraised for both the Southern Poverty Law Center and the ACLU, who stand on different sides of like the hate speech issue and whether or not, when something crosses over the line as hate speech.
Yeah.
I don't think that ACLU even believes
It's
hate
tough
speech
with
exists.
hate speech because, like, how you say things determines what they mean sometimes.
Well, no, I mean, if
Like, if
you
you're
say
making a
let's
joke-
all go down and burn this person's house
Yeah.
because they that's
because
hate
they're Jewish
speech.
or something.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's hate speech.
Right.
That's
But what if you
pretty
make a
clear.
joke about it?
If you then that's
Is that
I don't know.
a joke?
I don't know.
Like a comedian, like
but
comedians make jokes, they don't actually
what it has
act
to
on
be
them.
according to the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Is, and I can't remember the case. It was some guy was wearing like a leather jacket that said like "fuck you" on the back.
Yeah.
And this ended up getting brought to the Supreme Court, and it said, no, it's not. It's free speech. It is. It's free speech, but if you're inciting people to violence, that's when it's hate speech. So, saying something like "fuck you" or something
Right.
like that, that's free
So I
speech.
guess-
But if you said something like, I'm bringing all these people together to burn down your house. Like, let's all get together and burn down. That's like inciting violence. That's saying, okay, we're all going to get together and do something.
Yeah, that shouldn't be allowed because that's like a cultoid mentality. That's
right.
that's like a cult, like a KKK thing to do.
Right.
Right? Like you just go and burn things
yeah.
down. But
so it's a thin line. So like the ACLU is known for defending the free speech rights of the KKK.
They do that?
They have done that.
Yeah,
they have.
That's fucked up.
So like in Charleston, when that whole thing happened where the woman got hit was murdered. Gosh, what year was that? Do you know? In Charleston, you don't remember that?
No.
There was a huge rally of KKK members and other far right wingers.
I can't believe the KKK is still around. How what? How? Isn't that should be? That's like Nazis.
Are you kidding me? Rural Virginia,
you should just be
like they're in such little. We're all in our own little bubbles. I mean,
that's for sure.
And especially,
you only know what you're told, and we can only fix we can only know what happened yesterday.
So the rally in specific is Unite the Right rally.
Yeah, the Unite the Right rally.
Neo-Nazi rally that was held on August 17th.
The ACLU. Yeah, the ACLU protected the right of those people to gather.
Yeah.
And it led to the death of a counter protester saying, these people who are racists shouldn't be allowed to do this.
So how do you mitigate somebody's speech? How do you decide whether or not?
It's a thin line. So that's why I think it's important that we have people on both sides. Is that we have like the SPLC really like saying.
Because it's a weird thing.
Things are hate speech.
I mean, I guess it's tough as somebody who, like myself and all of us, really. We're not really hateful people, and never do we incite things like that. So you worry that all of a sudden one day you can talk or say things, and then the next you can get in a lot of trouble for saying things even though you've never meant it. So what it comes down to is knowing the difference between words and actions. You know what I mean? Because you'll never know what somebody's thinking.
Right.
Right. So whether or not they say nothing and then just blow up a school, or they're joking about it, I guess there was a difference.
And then they go ahead and do it. That could be. So yeah, I mean, I think.
So what do they do?
I think it's a great. That's why I think it's a thin line. It's going to depend on the circumstances of each particular case.
Are you fined?
I don't think there's any way to.
Like, say you go. I don't know, I'm going to burn down the school or something. I hate that school.
Like I said, I think it depends on the case. So, like, what happens if you, I don't know, if it's something about incitement to violence. That's something about I don't particularly, I don't know
Elon
the
Musk on those chips. What was it? Telecommunication proof. Do you remember what it was?
Talking about the head thing?
Yeah, what was the head thing you was talking about?
Neuralink.
Oh my God,
Neuralink.
I saw that. That's scary.
Scary stuff.
That's scary. Can you
imagine?
imagine?
I had this conversation with somebody recently, and they asked me, "Would you get the chip?" And I was like, "No, I would not get a chip."
No,
right after that,
right.
I wouldn't get a chip, though. Who's to say we don't already have one already? Because I could make a fine argument that say this is the chip. You don't leave this thing.
Oh, fair.
You don't leave the house
Fair
without
enough.
it. It's a limb. You don't leave the house without it. You're naked. All of a sudden without it. So they wouldn't just be like, all right, here's a chip that controls your finances, and it gives us a constant, a feed of your vitals. Be like, that's freaking weird. No. But then all of a sudden, okay, here's a chip.
You're putting your health data
Yeah.
into your
Well, it's
iPhone.
like-
I do that.
Yeah, you do that already. You you do it here. I talk here. So all of a sudden, Neuralink comes out. You have a chip now that actually benefits you. It's a chip that helps you regulate the way your brain produces chemicals, and you're thinking better. You feel better. You're able to articulate much better. All these things are now. You don't have a chip? You can tell that you don't have a chip. You're stuttering. You can't remember the word you're just thinking of, but I can. You know what I mean? All of a sudden, maybe I'm a little faster too. Maybe that changes even just the quick synaptic process of using my reflexes from a physical sample. You know what I mean? All these things could all of a sudden be benefits, and hey, that chip doesn't sound so bad anymore. Right?
Fair.
Now we all have the chip. Who needs a phone? I called you. I can hear you.
I can hear you from
You know
my
what I mean?
brain.
I can hear you from my brain. I mean, we've all seen Black Mirror, I
Yeah,
hope.
that's Black Mirror.
Black Mirror all the way. You just get some contacts, and all of a sudden you can see, you can take pictures, like with your eyes or whatever, however they did it. You have maybe a remote control that's the size of a watch in your pocket that controls those types of things. I mean, there's really no saying how advanced technology can get. Really, all that's happening in the future is that the phone will be inside of you.
But I think the scary thing is you don't know what the long-term effects of that are going to be.
No, but you don't know the long-term effects of keeping a
I know,
mildly
I think about-
radioactive phone on you.
I know, I think
Because there's
about that.
signals going in and out of it at all times. But
Yeah.
most of them aren't really that, supposedly they're not really harmful, but we don't know. I've had it on me for as long as I can remember. And maybe a lot of the reasons why I'm maybe anxious is because of it. What if I'm experiencing anxiety, acute amnesia, like not being able to remember things because of this phone being on me at all times?
I don't
know.
I think my focus is the
Yeah.
thing that I'm worried about because I don't know. I have a hard time focusing and especially
I'll go on my
having,
phone for longer than I should.
Right.
Whenever, you know what I mean? Like, I'll have to do something and then just daze out and be on TikTok for
Right.
45 minutes straight.
Same.
Happens.
It's so
It happens.
bad.
It's awful.
I know.
And so, what I hope for is that if technology does advance to internal standpoint, that it's just a little bit more productive, because as productive as technology is today, I feel like it's equally as unproductive, if not more, because it's really like there's a ton of really great things you can do with your phone or your computer, but most people will buy a really expensive phone, a really expensive computer to do the most basic things, like scroll through social
Right.
media or watch a video or something like of cats.
I know.
You know what I
I'm
mean?
like I've had a Chromebook for the past 2-3 years. I used that while I was in college.
Yeah.
And it's really insufficient if you want to do any kind of real work. Like sometimes I do graphic design for my
Yeah.
job, and I would really like to have a real laptop at some point.
It's amazing. Okay,
Yeah.
so the phones are cool, yada yada. I'm gonna tell you right now, computers are the best. I love my computer. It's with the exception of my car, my computer is like the most favorite thing I have. I can do everything. I make the podcast with it. I can do so much of my work with it. It's just a nice piece of equipment to have. It's so versatile.
So do you think, but we all have our phone is kind of a mini computer. Do you think that that's going to happen, the implant into our brain?
The computers? I think computers will always be outside of us.
But in our lifetime, do you think that the Neuralink thing is going to happen in our lifetime?
It's weird. So, yeah. Plouf's putting up 10 right there. So there's two trains of thought. Like, one, you could say no because this technology is just so advanced. I mean, if you really think about it, how much smaller? So this is like what, 1,000,000 times more power than what NASA had when we went to the moon. If we went to the moon,
Right.
I guess that's debatable for some people. I don't know. But my point is, look how little this is, and how much processing power it has, and how much it can do. I mean, 4K video. It can go underwater. You can browse the internet. It has a ton of processing power. Like and not to get too techie, and I won't get into like all the specs, but it's astounding. Now, if you take that, and they say technology doubles every year, so
Yeah. I
and
mean, look how quick it's
here's-
been since I was only like,
here's a good example. If you had a penny that doubled in value by every single day, in 30 days, it would be worth over $5 million.
what?
Yeah. You can. I saw a TikTok on it. You can look it up anyways. It's over $5 million. If you had a penny, that doubled. I know. The second day, it's 2 cents. That's nothing. But the thing is, it just keeps doubling. By the time it's in the like the last 5 days of the month of those 30 days, it's in the millions. I mean, it only needs to get to 500,000 before it's a million, and 100,000. Rather, 500,000, then it's a million, then 2 million. My point is, you could do the math later. You could do the math at home.
I have to do the math.
I've already seen it, but that's
curious.
that's my point. So take technology where it's at now, double that, then double that again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Next year. So he put up 10. What the hell's the world going to be like 5 from now? If I could tell you. So I just recently upgraded my computer. The difference between a computer that I had bought from 2016 to the one I bought now is literally 8 times more powerful.
What does that mean? What do you mean when you say it's 8 times more powerful?
Meaning it has more processors, it has more graphics cores. Like a graphic card has different cores, if you can correct me. I'm not too techie, but the point is that it can take a much higher workload. Like when I'm rendering something like this video has to be rendered and turned into a completely different file once I combine it with the logo, once I combine it with the audio, because this audio is recorded separate of the video, and then it processes it in much less time.
So it won't like slow down your computer and like...
Well, it's already something that happens slowly because it's such a large file, especially because this is high definition footage. So it takes a really long time for it to process and render. Beyond that, my point is that with the technology getting better, the technology also gets smaller, and to the point where you wouldn't want a phone that's like this big. You know what I mean?
You would just implant it into your brain.
At that point, it would probably be hooked up in a way that you could use it. It probably wouldn't be a phone or anything really like a phone, but that caliber of technology might one day be able to be implemented into humans. I wouldn't really doubt it. I love technology. I love the advancement of stuff, and I like seeing things. I'm huge. I love progression. Though the issue is that sometimes people take advantage of it. Like, for instance, we were talking about Elon Musk. You know, you think he's kind of like a weirdo. He's a really weird guy. Nobody who's that smart's ever going to be really that cool of a dude. But if you look at how much he cares about what he does, do you know what Blue Origin is?
No.
Exactly. That's Jeff Bezos' space program. He's a rich guy. He doesn't really care about making a big difference in the world. He already has. He's mastered the art of logistics, essentially. That's all really Amazon is getting something from point A to point B, no matter where you are. You know, you can buy a product now and it'll be at your house yesterday. You know what I mean? Right. That's like how quick it comes. So with that, you can see how much somebody cares about what they're doing. And that's why it's kind of cool to have a comparison of what it looks like when somebody really wants to make a difference with their money versus somebody who might not be really doing that much. Because now he's just a super billionaire, $100 whatever billion dollars, and you don't really know what he's done besides Amazon, if he's even doing anything with Amazon anymore. You know what I mean? But we do know that we've been to space now recently for the first time in the last 7 years because of SpaceX and Dragon. What was the name of the spaceship? Dragon? So it's kind of interesting to see the comparison of what really people who have really benefited from a capitalistic system have done. Some people haven't done shit. You know what I mean? Some people just sort of sit back.
Well, some people don't have as many benefits from the system that we live under, you know?
Well, anybody can become...
are kind of screwed because of the system that we live under.
Anybody can become rich in this country. That's
Anyone
for sure.
can become... You think so?
Well,
you think
yeah.
it's really the same for somebody like Donald Trump, whose daddy gave him $1 million
He'll get rich
to get
faster,
started?
But Elon Musk is richer
somebody
than Trump.
who, you know, is from a community that doesn't have a lot of investment in its schools.
It's harder.
Where
I'm not disagreeing on that.
Insanely
hard. It's almost impossible. You could say
right.
it's impossible.
I'm
totally
sure
agree.
it's not impossible.
It's not.
But I think we could make it a lot easier for folks to be able to work hard and move up in
That's one of those
their
things
life.
where it's like, oh, capitalism. But the thing with it is, I think a lot of it is that government is mimicking the same attributes of big business in this country. So it really is hard to become a small business to a big business, or a poor person financially to a rich person financially, because you have a million layers of tax to go through, because tax will really, really put a toll on your company at all times, or you at all times. So it's hard to work through that.
You really think it's the taxes that are holding people back? Because I feel like
We pay in our small business over $7,000 a month for taxes.
wow.
Yeah.
But I think that
And not to say that I'm not all for the systems that are in place that the government do provide. Like, I was very happy to have unemployment, and I love roads and fire departments and police departments. There's a lot of systems that really do work. I just think that there's too many people at this point working for the government. It's a very large organization. It's the
I
biggest
agree.
country in the world.
Well,
biggest business in the world is the United States government.
right.
It's
Well,
fucking
half
huge.
of all of our tax money is spent on our military.
That too. That's a big fucking
That's
problem.
a giant.
That's a huge problem.
cost.
That's a huge
And
problem.
most of these kids are like going and training in case we ever do go to war, and they're, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
I just
I'm with you there. I think so too. It's like, why is the military budget so big?
it doesn't
definitely
need to be.
It definitely needs to be. I think it needs to be revisited for sure. But that's, I think, what keeps a lot more people down than you would think, because it's really difficult. Like, imagine if people, like, say until you make above 50 grand, you were not taxed. You'd right there alone probably solve a lot of the people who make less than 50 grand a year problem. Like say you're working at the gas station for minimum wage. I don't know where you are. Minimum wage is a variable number, but you're still getting taxed, you know? And the issue
But
is
it's
that
not that much when
It's
you
not that
are
much.
making minimum wage.
you're right, but
and
that's not enough still to live.
The thing is,
right?
the people that need to be taxed are the people who are making the most in this country. Those are the people who are
They
able
get taxed
to,
the most too.
but they don't. They don't get as much. They don't get taxed as much as they did in the golden age in America.
True.
I mean, we used to charge.
You could go about, but it's already a pretty big number. Like, if you want to make $1 million, you have to make like $1,300,000, because if you made $1 million, you only have $700,000 because of taxation. If roughly, right? You get taxed almost 50% when you're making above seven
not
figures.
now.
No.
No.
So
It's
the
like-
federal tax rate for let's see, up to it varies. So it goes from 10% all the way up to 37%,
Okay.
right? And 37% is 500,000 a year. That doesn't include the state tax. So
And
with
that's
the
the-
state tax. It's almost 50%.
But the crazy thing to me is that the cap is at 500,000. When that's like your
Yeah.
lawyers and your doctors. If you're making like, there should be another standard where like if you're making like over $1 million, like
Yeah.
okay, you're in a new.
But it could be
tax
like
bracket.
a sort of a nod to somebody who's doing so well. If they are a business owner, it's a little weird, like you're saying, if you're somebody who just is an employee and making that much money. But if you're somebody who's a business owner, in a capitalistic society, it might be advantageous to let that person have more money, because as much as we could hate on people who are rich, and I'm just trying to look at the positives, because trust me, I'm not too all for people being mega trillionaires and whatever the hell they are these days. But the thing you want to look at least one thing that you can look at that's positive, is that person alone has then stimulated the economy so much and provided that many jobs. You look at any of these big companies like Tesla or Microsoft, not to again pat those people on the back too much, but at least there's a lot of people who have a really good job.
What about
right?
Walmart?
I hate Walmart.
Oh my gosh, they just have so
Yeah.
much money, so many employees, and they treat their employees so
Are
well.
awful. Trust me, I'm not a big Walmart fan, and Walmart's not a place you would want to work. But that's
No.
my point. But you would probably be okay with working for Google or Amazon or Tesla or Microsoft. That's a better job. Retail sucks. Walmart actually sucks, and it's, I think, owned by China. It's really just the worst. It's the worst place I've ever gone to go shopping. In fact, to the point where I don't even go, and I haven't gone for I don't know how many years now. Just because if I'm getting food, I'll go somewhere else for food. And if I'm going to buy something, unfortunately, I will resort to Amazon if I'm going to buy like a flag or something like that, versus going to Walmart. I really have no use for it. But you're absolutely right. Why would you want to work for a big company like that at all?
I mean, if you think about like the issue of transportation, who are the big employers in where? I
Yeah.
mean, and so many of our manufacturing businesses have left.
Yeah.
One of the big employers for people locally is retail. So, and we used to have, local businesses that would pay their employees a living wage.
Yeah.
And now we have people who are working part-time at the local Walmart making $12 an hour and taking,
Nothing,
money from the government because
Yeah.
that's how they can get by.
It does suck because
You know?
retail can employ a lot of people, but it's not enough to survive. And then they have to go on those programs. And the thing that sucks about those programs is as soon as you make a little bit more, they go away. You know what I mean? So then they have to go back to work making less. It's like it makes you have to stay at a low-paying job. I remember my cousin I forget where she was working, but because she was working somewhere that paid her an extra $2 an hour, she lost all of her benefits for her and her child. So because it was just too much. So they're like, oh, we can't provide you with food stamps anymore. When the price of food doesn't change because you got a new job. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like one of those things. It's like, as much as it's great that there is systems in place in government to help you in financial hardship, it's weird. Like, I'm not an accountant by any means, but I wonder if there's any way you could fix how much somebody should make before those benefits are taken away. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's almost like they have to make a leap, like go from a $12 an hour job to finding a $30 an hour job.
Right.
And that's a tough jump to make.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just tough for single parents.
Big time.
I mean,
big time.
I can't imagine. I mean, and parents in general, like paying for preschool.
Yeah.
Paying for, daycare.
Daycare.
Yeah.
Daycare is so expensive.
So expensive.
I forget. My old boss was telling me how much it was. I don't even remember. I just remember I couldn't believe how much it cost. It was like $400 a week or something like that. Like.
Yeah.
I'm really rough. I don't know exactly what it was, but I was very surprised when he told me. It's crazy.
I mean, it helps if you have like a support system. That's the people that I know have parents or they have friends
right.
or
if you have the luxury of
something.
having family around, it's good. It's really good because then you have somebody who can help you and look after your kids.
I mean, that's how things used to be, really.
Yeah, they still kind of are. They still kind of are, right? For not everybody, obviously. Not everybody has that luxury, but some people do. Hopefully.
I have such a big family. Another thing that I wanted to mention on here is that I've also been working with Miller Memorial Park, which is
where's that?
It's in Munson.
Oh, cool.
So
Munson's beautiful.
Yeah, I love Munson.
Yeah.
I grew up there, born and
really?
raised, represent.
Yeah, cool.
But Miller Park in Munson, it was founded by my great aunt Ida.
Yeah.
In honor of my great grandparents, and it's 4 acres of recreational land, so you can rent it out. Right now, we're obviously not having parties because of COVID-19, but when COVID-19 is over, people can rent it, and that's how we fundraise to keep the park going, and we conserve 39 acres of land, and we just got a big donation for 19 more acres of land.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's really exciting.
Who donated that? Like, you don't say any names, but
I'm not gonna, just a family.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So it was a family that did. Oh, that's awesome.
So it's on Hovey. We're on Hovey Road, and this piece
What's
of
the
land.
foundation do again?
We are we're a conservation organization,
Cool.
so we preserve this land in the natural.
That's awesome.
Wildlife.
Yeah, and if for those of you who haven't gone to Munson, it's worth checking out. It's a really big draw to the town itself is that it's really just in the middle of the woods. It's like a very New England town. You get to the top, because I go to Mount Peaked all the time for hikes, and you get to the top there, and it's just a slope down, and then there's just trees and hills all around it. It's a beautiful town.
It's a and it's so historic. And you know what's crazy is this week, I found out about this. They're considering putting a Dollar General at in the center of Munson. I know.
You know what Munson doesn't have? A fitness facility. Talk about that with people.
Actually,
they had a place, but
Gills
is
technically in Munson. It's right on that.
Gills, or you mean Asylum?
No, Gills.
Okay.
Gills, right?
It might be Asylum.
Kmart
Gills is that Kmart area maybe?
I think that Kmart area is Munson, right?
I think
that
it's
Kmart
Palmer.
area. Kmart is Munson.
Munson.
It is Munson. It's like a little piece of Munson right there on Route 32.
It could be. It maybe on a map it is, but it's like Wilbraham. I don't know if it's Palmer. I think it is more Wilbraham, because I know a lot of people who are from Munson who go to Asylum. But that's not really in the town. Like, we could call it Munson, but my point is you have to drive like
Yeah.
10, 15 minutes away.
There used to be a little fitness place next
right at
to,
the bottom there.
Yeah, that
and
place was so
it's
cute.
still at a
and
sign, but
yeah.
I forget who mentioned
Troon
that to me.
Wellness.
And it's like I personally would never go. There's not enough people to like who live there, but it would be cool to see something. Why a Dollar General though? That's weird. They have Adams. Adams is fine.
I know, and the place that they want to put it, so like, you know, when you're driving through the center of Munson and you've got the big church on your right, the
yes.
big white church.
Well, it's funny you say that because I counted. There's like 7 churches in Munson on
true.
that one street.
You're driving into Munson. Okay, so you drive by Troon Wellness on your right, and then you've got the big white church, and then you're going straight. They want to put it where that old Wilbraham Munson Academy building was on your left when you're going straight into town. So it would be right in the middle of Munson, basically. And so ugly. They showed a picture of it it's on the Munson website.
That? Why did the town allow that?
It's the town planners. So they haven't decided yet.
Yeah.
But they're
I hope they
considering
decide
it.
against it. That's
I
kinda
hope they
lame.
do too, and it's
Or
great.
at least make it like not on the on the street.
Right on
like
the
get it just
right on the main road
in the woods.
Like I know,
like
put
build
it
a new
away.
dirt road like out of the way.
Munson is so
an
quaint
eyesore.
and beautiful. I know.
They did that in Palmer near.
I was so sad
Rockies?
when they did that. Yeah.
Is it Rockies? What the hell's that ice cream shop?
Oh,
Ricky's.
the
hell is it called?
no, it's not. It's
Come on, that ice cream place.
Yeah.
Rick's Parkside. Boom.
Yes. Yes. I know, and I was so sad. They used to sell like corn there. There used to be like a farmer that would set up
Dollar General?
across where that Dollar General is now.
Yeah.
When it was just like a field. Remember,
Yeah.
there would be like little, farmers setting up their little corn stand. It's so depressing.
Yeah, it's kinda
sad.
lame.
Now it's a Dollar General. Like,
It's just a weird store to have. If you already have places or if you already have a convenience store, I guess. But I guess the nice thing is, because we use it, I've used Dollar Generals a lot just to buy like trash bags. You can bet like 10 boxes of trash bags for $10. That's super convenient. But it's still not like exactly aesthetic for the New England vibe that
yeah, honestly,
Munson provides.
Munson and Palmer have such an opportunity to grow because Brimfield is like this big destination for people who are interested in buying antiques, and like Munson and Palmer could like grow on that vibe.
Maybe.
I think that's the great thing with
because there is a big difference. I feel like from Palmer to Munson, and then Brimfield. I feel like Munson's a lot more similar to the Brimfield and Sturbridge vibe. Palmer, I feel like, is a little different. I'm not sure if I'm too fond of Palmer. Like, I wouldn't talk about Palmer like I'm talking about Munson. It's nice and all, but it's not like, hey, check that town out.
I hear you.
You know what I mean?
I know what you mean, but like I love Palmer. I think that it's just
Careful thinking the grass is greener.
yeah,
Well-
fair.
Huh? I grew up in Missouri. But I also grew up kind of in Palmer. But, I mean, it wasn't... I can't tell you, like... I wouldn't be like, dude, that's a great place to grow up. I got a great growing up. I don't know. There's nothing I can really take away from it. It was the people. If I didn't know anybody...
I mean, I love
the people.
Palmer. Well, anyway, so I think in terms of the walkability and the view, the aesthetics of Palmer,
They don't have
that's what I...
You think they have?
No,
Okay,
no.
I was gonna say.
That's what I don't like about Palmer is I think there is such an opportunity to, where the old gas station is, to build
Hess?
in
that corner where
on that corner
Godfather
right
used to
in the center of town.
Yeah.
Where they could build a building to, there's so much potential there.
Well, here's the thing with Palmer is they never freaking decided what the hell they were. They had Palmer, Thorndike, Three Rivers, Bondsville.
Well,
What the hell's going on?
That's historic. I
There's
mean,
like
that goes back.
4
We used to be
fire departments?
fair. But
Why?
like it would be so expensive to try to make it into one at this point. There used to be 4 centers. We were a mill town. I mean,
Yeah.
Palmer was a mill town. We had people who were gathered at each of those locations.
It was
who
a
worked
great
in the
industrial
mills.
town.
Yeah.
It was probably.
So-
I could imagine back when the industries were still in this country, it was probably an amazing place to live.
Right.
I
mean,
do-
it
I
was
do agree on
this
that.
town of 7 railroads. I mean,
Yeah.
we had a Frank Lloyd Wright rail station, the same architect that built the the rail station in New York City. I mean,
Yeah.
that's amazing. Palmer
Big stuff.
is a beautiful place, and there's so much potential for Palmer. That's how I view it. I think
Yeah.
Palmer has so much potential.
I do too. Well, here's the big factor, in my opinion, is that one, Palmer is in the middle of the country, or
Middle
the
of the
state.
state, right?
and
If we
two, it's
became
got
a
an
rail
exit. It's
stop-
got an exit to the Mass Pike.
And we've got a lot of enthusiasm for a rail stop on the east-west rail line,
Yeah.
which I think is
I was
going
gonna
to
say
bring...
you can't get on the. Can you get on the Amtrak through Palmer?
No, you used to be able to.
Yeah.
It used to go through Palmer and through Amherst. And they moved it so that it goes from the Vermonter goes through Greenfield, Northampton, Springfield, which makes sense. But now they actually just wrapped up their study on the East-West Rail, or they're about to wrap up their study, whatever. They picked the 3 alternatives for what the plan's going to be.
Yeah.
Because they're actually going to go forward with a plan for East-West Rail. So there's going to be a train from Boston to potentially to the Berkshires.
What?
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
So it would be great.
Because I know, like, Connecticut's got a great system. People go to Connecticut, take the train to New York. You can go to New York City from Connecticut.
Yeah.
And
I mean, you
that'd be
can go
great.
to
It'd
New
be better
York
than
City
driving.
from...
Where the hell do you park in New York City? I've been there. It's the worst. Trying to park in New York City.
Fair.
Never mind if you need gas. Where do you get gas in New York City? I was talking to Cam Prosperity about that.
I've definitely
What?
gotten off the highway and went to get gas in New York, in the center of New York City.
No way.
Or no, I had to use the bathroom. That's what it was.
Yeah.
And it was so dirty. And
Yeah.
Anyway,
No, I'm not a big- I'm
sorry,
not a
New
big,
York City.
Not a big city person either.
I'm
I'll
not
be honest.
either.
Both times I went to New York City, it smelled like garbage.
Yes, that's how I
But hey, it's cool, scenic. I guess it's really, honestly, like I said it before. When I go there, I look like I just landed on the planet. I'm looking up at the buildings. Like, if you
I
haven't
know.
seen a skyscraper, it's fucked up.
It's crazy.
It hurts your brain.
Right.
Gets you all dizzy and shit. How is it? You know,
I feel
there's a-
like I'm on another planet when I'm in
you
New
really
York City.
are.
in
It is
the
another
center.
planet.
Yeah.
It's a functioning organism. That's one thing. It's like a superorganism. When I was flying over the country, when I went to Arizona, it was a beautiful day. It was sunny, so I got to see the whole country. And you look at these towns, and they're functioning as just as what the hell's it called? Oh my God, myosin? No. What's the roots of fungus?
Oh, that support the tree systems?
Yeah, it's a network of vines, not vines. It's a network of roots that just spans across any land underneath all the soil. And is it myosin? Oh my God!
have no
Everybody's
idea.
if anybody knows, they're screaming at me right now. But anyways, when you're looking at civilizations from, huh?
Mycorrhizal? Hold up, I gotta find the pronunciation.
Mycorrhizal.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's essentially a root system fungus makes throughout this. So in other words, say something dies in the forest.
Yeah.
There's actually communication in the soil that's dead there, and that there's that abundance of nutrients from whatever's dead, and then something will grow there to decompose it and eat it. And it's usually a fungus. It's always fungus because it's operating on that level of intelligence, which is really cool. That's why, when they're developing things that eat plastic, it's a fungus, and dissolve oil, it's a fungus. I think they're even developing something that eats the waste from nuclear power plants. It's also a type of
wow.
fungus. You can train mushrooms essentially to eat anything. It's weird. They'll find a way to turn it into energy. In other words, I guess that's essentially what eating is at the end of the day.
crazy.
But when you're looking at going on a massive tangent, when you're looking at civilization from that height, you're looking at it. It looks like it's just a reaction occurring on the Earth's surface. It's really weird. It really puts you aside. Did you find it? Is it myosin?
Well, it's spelled like Mycorrhizal.
Okay.
Right? And there's no hyphenated pronunciations or nothing.
All right. I'm gonna put fungus
It's mycorrhizal.
root system.
Well,
Doesn't really matter.
I've definitely heard about trees doing that too, like talking to one another through their roots.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe. With trees, I don't know. But I know that happens with fungus. Like, it's all on one network. But anyways, it was really cool. And when you're looking at cities from a height, you're really just looking at a superorganism. What the hell is that?
I mean, humans are just like any other animal. Like we are.
Just like, just festering on the surface of the earth.
We are kind of a cancer. Like.
Well, I mean, that was one thing. I was listening to a Joe Rogan's podcast, and it was talking about what is natural. Right? Because you would consider humans not to be so natural. They're not
know.
But they are. There's nothing unnatural about a plane flying in the sky because it didn't come from space. It didn't come from the stars above. It was literally harvested from the earth and put in the sky by things that were essentially came out of the earth and did what they had to do, depending on how you believe we got here. The point is that we're indigenous.
Well, no other animal creates tools the way that we do.
But they do create things like nests and hives.
But tools are what your phone, what
Right.
all the things we call are unnatural.
Yeah, but exactly. But does that mean it's unnatural?
It
'Cause
means
we
it's
did it.
unique to humans.
It's unique. It's unique to Earth. It's not unique to humans, right?
I think
humans did it.
No other animals create tools other
right.
than humans.
They make tools. I mean, not make, but they use things as tools, right? There's some primates that do that. Kind of. It's not obviously as cool as a phone. It's a stick. I've seen them try to get ants out of a log like that. That's not the point. My point is like that it's definitely not as cool as like a Apache helicopter.
But okay, have you ever heard the theory that like humans are like the result of an alien species coming to Earth and having sex with a monkey?
I think that's a fantastic argument.
I think it's a fantastic theory. I really like it.
How else are you going to explain the diversity? Like, there's
Right.
nothing else that really does that. And on top of it, you would think that a civilization as advanced as ours would not develop on Earth, rather on the surface of Earth, but in the water, because it's a larger planet.
Right.
In other words, the Earth provides a larger world inside of its oceans.
Right.
You
Yeah,
would
the
think- and-
oceans are so much bigger.
Yeah.
Well, dolphins are super smart.
They are. They are.
So they're like our water.
Well,
world
imagine if all this,
equivalent.
because nobody really knows. We could talk, oh yeah, they've scattered the bottom of the ocean. What if all this UFO talk is really just a civilization that's in the ocean that developed
Oh.
millions of years before
Oh,
ours?
I like that theory.
Right?
Okay.
It's a thing.
I actually heard
Why
about this
not?
the other day on Stephen Colbert. They said they're investigating a strange round. They call it the green banana. It's off the coast of Florida.
What was it, like
it's
an
like
SFO, submersible flying object or whatever?
I don't know. It's a hole in the bottom of the ocean floor that glows blue. And they call it the green banana for
a
whatever
dome.
reason.
It's a biodome.
And scientists are going to start exploring it. And Stephen Colbert is like, please don't. 2020 is bad enough.
Yeah,
I don't
right.
need Godzilla coming
Like,
out.
They found you. Sorry. You're not allowed to know of our existence. We must eliminate you again. Because, I mean, when you look at it, like, I forget who was I? No, it wasn't with you, Plouffe. Who was I talking to? Oh, you know what? I think I was talking to Ian about it. But anyways, recovering, like, so you're looking at the super civilization of Egypt alone. And the fact that now they're discovering that the Sphinx was recovered and rebuilt rather than built by the Egyptians, right? So how many times has
Oh my God.
our species gone through super civilizations or just become really big civilizations before they were turned down? Because it's completely within human nature to completely decimate whoever we defeat in combat.
Fair.
You know what I mean? That happens all the time. You know, like how many times? It doesn't happen so much these days, but I mean, based off of what happened in Afghanistan, considering how much ancient history was in those museums and was destroyed because of these wars, that's huge.
You know what's
scary?
scary? I mean, like at this point, the kind of weapons that we've developed, if we go to war, and I've actually was listening to this podcast the other day saying, you know, we're having at the highest tensions with China at.
Yeah.
You know, at this point, we have the highest tensions with China. I mean, we just recently kicked their what is it called? Their diplomat.
Out
We
of the
kicked
UN?
Their Chinese. We kicked them out of our country.
Wow.
And in response, they've also kicked our diplomat out of their country. So.
China.
But can you imagine if the United States went to war with China? The United
suck.
States has a bunch of weapons. China has a bunch of weapons.
We owe them a ton of money, and they build everything for us.
And we're just, yeah, true.
Yeah. Like everything.
But yeah, no, I hear what you're saying in terms of like, if but what I'm saying is that like our humanity so far has gone to war many times.
Yeah.
But we've never had a world war where so many people have such deadly weapons.
Yeah, everybody's got nukes now. Before the last war, not before the last war, the last war was the first one to the World War, that is. I mean, we've been in the war with Afghanistan for so long, but the nukes being used in World War II was the first time.
Right.
But we were the first ones to use it.
Right.
Because of Einstein.
No.
Yeah.
Did you ever? There's a show.
He developed the way to make them, right?
There are many people who,
Have you seen that? Oh my God, there's a great show
so he's not the only contributor
about
to
this.
making the A-bomb?
No, there's this great show about this. Have you seen it? Oh my gosh.
I love Einstein, by the way. Not hating.
Look, Google show about the atomic bomb. Because I just want to. I watch it. It's so good. It's like puts you right in the moment of like when this is happening. They're like in a random town in New Mexico, and it's like really rural. Did you find it?
It says Manhattan.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That was the
Manhattan experiment.
Yeah, that was the name for it. Oh my God.
Project.
What, when they're blowing up the thing, and they're blowing up the atomic or hydrogen
when they
bomb?
were trying to figure it out. So there
make
was
it?
like two teams, and there was Big Boy was the first attempt to create the atomic bomb, and that failed because they wanted to do it in a certain way that wouldn't work. And then there was another team of people who the Big Boy team thought was like crazy.
Yeah.
And their atomic bomb is what we have now. It was that team that.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. So anyway, it's a great show. I highly recommend it.
Is it on Netflix?
It's on Netflix.
What's it called?
The
Manhattan?
Is it just Manhattan? Yeah.
I'll check that out. That sounds really interesting.
So good.
I love that kind of stuff. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Considering the amount of firepower every country has now, Russia, China, America, like the big superpowers, it's amazing how many countries do not have a military.
Well, because we're the world's police.
The world's police.
Yeah,
I know.
we've got everybody's back. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's weird.
That's why we have to spend so much on our military.
It is weird, and it's such a superpower.
It's so funny because
ridiculous.
until I think it was World War II, America didn't go to. We weren't engaged in foreign affairs, and then since World War I or II, I forget which one it was, but I think it was World War II. Since we got dragged in, that's when we became the war
police.
against the Nazis.
Oh no, Vietnam was when we became the world's police, I think.
No, I think it was World War II. We got dragged into that war. We didn't even want to at first. We got dragged in at the last minute, and then we were the heroes.
Yeah.
And even though Russia did the most of the job fighting the Nazis.
Yeah.
What?
There's a big gray area in World War II.
Yeah, but Stalin, that's a weird one too, because people, talk about the Nazis, but nobody teaches you about Russia. They had a much larger genocide. Check that out. Stalin's genocide was a lot bigger than Hitler's. We don't talk about. Who the hell were they? Who was Stalin killing off, though? Because it was like a really swept under the rug kind of thing for U.S. history. I mean, we talk about Hitler a lot, and that was a pretty detrimental. Like, that was a really crazy genocide, because we were also at first like not letting these people into our country. Like the Jews were trying to get over here to escape that, and we denied a lot of ships.
Yeah, we did.
Like, which was really freaking weird.
I think that we definitely learn about Russia in our country is just like, oh, anybody that Russia is this big communist state, and talks about how bad Russian politics is a lot. I don't know. I don't know.
It's very comparable. It says 5.7 to perhaps 7 million.
Oh, 5.7 to
Jewish
7 million.
Oh, wait, no, that's due to the Soviet.
Yeah, that was.
Oh.
Right. So also there was another website that I was just on that said 1.7 million prisoners died in the Gulag system of Russia.
Yeah, because that was a pretty.
In the gulags, isn't that when the people took over and in the seizure of the means of production, when the proletariat took over the country?
Honestly, I think that's probably a little bit too complex for us to really tackle.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
Anyway.
That's crazy.
I think that's what the gulag is.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't. Yeah. Never mind. Where were we going with this? Yeah. Powerful countries now have
We were
a
talking
lot
about
of firepower.
how you said that in Egypt the Sphinx was
Recovered.
recovered.
Yeah. It was.
That's
crazy.
crazy.
So they have proof that. Huh?
So I had one thing. So the Sphinx didn't have a human head when they recovered it originally.
Yeah. It had a different head. They put a human's head on it. But the way they know that it was recovered is because there's water erosion that predates Egyptian civilization, which is really wild to really think about. But
I thought the Sphinx was a cat.
Yeah.
Isn't
Well,
it
it's a
cat?
half man, half cat. Well, the Sphinx,
okay.
they put a pharaoh's head on it.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, as they did with about everything back then.
Yeah,
I mean,
so that's really cool to think
Yeah.
about. Like, imagine if, I mean, it's hard to say how long humans have been on the planet, but
yeah,
we were here before the Egyptians even,
yeah.
and had
What do you
like
mean?
I mean, if we were,
If there was civilizations
developed.
before
Yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of cool conspiracies. Like Atlantis is a cool one to look into, because there's a lot of super civilizations, and all that came down to is how they were harnessing energy. I was talking about this with somebody, but it's a big point, because depending on how you harness energy, as we know, it could really destroy or advance a civilization. I mean, look at the nuclear power plant. It's a very efficient way a very efficient way of distributing energy, and it's a very clean way of distributing energy, but it's extremely dangerous because you have a nuclear reactor. You know what I
Right.
mean? So you have very little waste from it, but you have obviously waste that is really hard to get rid of when you have to get rid of it. But the point is what they say is there's another way of harnessing energy, and it came down to a very advanced kind of battery that these civilizations had, and the battery consisted of like silicone and quartz or something. Like they were using crystals. I don't know. At this point, we have tinfoil hats on. But
yeah, this is true.
Right. But the point is that there was a very interesting and very detailed way they were explaining how some of these advanced civilizations that predated ancient civilizations like Egypt, that's how they really harnessed their power, and that was their downfall as well. So they destroyed themselves inevitably.
Just to go back to the amount of deaths in Russia.
Yeah, the amount of deaths in Russia.
It ranges from 1.5 million to 20 million.
Jeez,
according
1.5 to 20 million. That's
So
vague.
that depends on the
Yeah.
historian.
What
who
was
you ask.
what was the incident that caused those deaths?
Just the government.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of instances like that where they don't talk about these kind of genocides. They'll sweep them under the rug and they paint the bad guy. Because let's all be honest, coming here, the Native Americans got a pretty bad hand in that draw.
Bad hand. That's
what was
one
it?
way to put
Yeah,
it.
it was 100 million people, 100 million natives killed. Well, how many people were living here at the time? Probably not 100 million.
Oh,
but it was
yeah.
a massive genocide, and it was on such a deep level too, because they didn't just kill off the people; they killed off, like, there was a picture of these pilgrims with 30,000 buffalo skulls, because they decimated the standing native population's food source, which was buffalo at the time. That's why there isn't that many bison in this country anymore. We just killed them all. I forget what picture that was, but that's a pretty cool picture. Or not a cool picture, but it's freaking crazy. If you Google it, it takes you back if you want to know really what it took, what human nature can do. It's craziness.
The first numbers that come up from a Google of how many Native Americans perished
Yeah.
is between 95 million and 114 million.
There you go. Yeah. So I thought it was.
But it also notes that the highest mortality is due to smallpox, measles,
Isn't that cool?
influenza
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
disease.
Smallpox.
However, we're definitely responsible.
Yeah.
Well, not we, but settlers
Right,
are
right.
responsible directly.
Yes,
for
they'd
a
be.
fair amount.
They'd be most of our ancestors.
Yes.
Hey man, I wanted to be born in the Andromeda galaxy, but now I'm here.
That's another thing I'm so curious about is like when we're gonna find life on other planets, because it's really
Wrap your head
matter-
around that for a second. What's another intelligent species gonna look like? Are you okay?
know.
Are you okay to deal with that? Can you take that? Can you take in the information? There's something now on TV that's not from this planet that looks very different.
I mean,
Trying to communicate? How would you even find a basis of communication?
how did early people start when they start talking across? I mean,
I guess if you can get here, you'll be able to figure out our language.
Yeah, if they're intelligent beings and if we're intelligent beings, there should be a possibility to communicate because...
But things can be so different. I mean, look at the difference, even the biodiversity just on this planet alone.
True.
The difference between a tree and a human is staggering. The way they communicate, the way they eat.
I think because the thing is, it's going to be that we're communicating totally different things.
Yeah.
Like if we're on, if
because we use
if
sound.
you're talking to another human from another side of the world that you've never heard the language before, you can both be like tree or,
No, my point is
boar.
we're both, as humans, even though we speak different languages, we're both using sound as a medium. But something might use like vibration. They could use light.
I didn't even think of that.
What if they come back and they just have like this bioluminescent surface on their face that emanates certain frequencies of light at a certain pace? You wouldn't be able to communicate with them at that point.
No.
Like how would you bridge the gap between that?
I mean, I guess we would figure it out and start and try to fit, but that's crazy. I didn't even think that they would be communicating with light.
Well, you wouldn't know how does a species develop?
Everything's possible.
We're
sonar.
Really, you're really you have to think so outside of the box. Because not only that, but we're carbon-based. I have a feeling that any other life will also be carbon-based, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to communicate or consume or even move the same way we do.
Right.
They could float, roll.
They could roll.
Just, you know what I mean? Like, look at octopus. Look at the difference between an octopus and a fish. I mean, there's a big difference there, and they live in the same planet. You know?
That's crazy.
Wasn't there something that's saying octopus are like not even on the same? There's like suggesting that they weren't originating from this. They did not originate from this planet, which is weird because the Mesozoic period. I mean, cephalids were predominantly the larger population of things that were alive at that time. Shellfish, shelled like octopus. Like, ever seen like a you know what a cephalid is?
This is bringing me back to like a museum.
It's essentially an octopus inside of a shell.
Right.
Oh my God. We probably, honestly, we'll end on what Jameson's looking up right here.
What?
Oh, I was just looking up scientific theory about octopus being from space.
Let's wrap this up before we're here till the end of time. We're almost at 2 hours. This is to date the longest locals only podcast, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so Dakota,
I hope everybody stuck around.
I hope so too. We went through it all today. I don't think there's a goddamn thing we didn't cover, to be totally honest with you. We got Joe Biden and Trump and the coronavirus, and we didn't talk about Black Lives Matter or anything. That's probably okay. I don't want to die. It's crazy. Touchy times. You know what I mean? Who knows? But the point is, we covered it all, and we had fun doing it. So thank you so much for coming on, Dakota. Guys, if you haven't already, check out her Instagram. You want people to check out your Instagram? No.
You can but do check out Quabog Valley CDC.
Quabog Valley CDC.
QVCDC.org if you're interested in starting a business, or if you just need help with get transportation.
There you go.
Yeah.
Show them some love, folks. Thank you so much for listening. See ya. Bye. Oh my God.